The New York Knicks have agreed to make Mike Brown their next head coach. And I have to say, this is a epic fail. This is like a very stupid decision to hire him. Mike Brown is Mr. Potato Head, or you can call him Mr. Egghead. This guy has always been a clown in my mind. A guy I have never taken seriously. The Knicks, you could have hired me if you're going to hire a clown. Granted, I'm not a clown, but I could have done more than Mike Brown, to be honest, because I've always viewed Mike Brown as a clown. But this was a really, really bad signing, and I'm not even a Knicks fan, but I still find it silly and laughable in the sense that the Knicks fired Tibbs because they felt they had to do something different and they needed a new coach with a new vision, a new game plan. And I'm thinking that Mike Brown is just like a dumber version of Tibbs, essentially. His strength is defense, just like Tibbs, and he's not good with offense. I know some people say he reinvented himself when he was the Sacramento Kings head coach with implementing like a warrior style of offense. But in general, he's never been a great offensive tactician. He's only known for being a great defensive coach. He's like very predictable, but I would say that Mike Brown hasn't had much success when it comes to even winning outside of Cleveland, to be honest. And we're talking about his first stint with Cleveland. But if you even go back to that first stint, I felt that he just got to ride the coattails of LeBron James. He got LeBron at the right time because when he took over the coaching job in Cleveland, LeBron was heading into his third season. And for LeBron, it took him like 2 years to figure out how to be a superstar. But by year three, he was clearly a superstar. And Mike Brown got to benefit from that. He rode LeBron's coattails. But when I look back at that time when he was with Cleveland, he didn't really know what he was doing. And I felt that he never had control of that team. LeBron ran that team just like LeBron runs just about every other team he's on. LeBron becomes like the coach of that team. Granted, you can say in Miami he wasn't able to run them, hence why he left because Riley wouldn't allow him to take over. Granted, this is off tangent, but it goes back to Mike Brown that Mike Brown could never establish himself as a guy in control or in charge of running a team. And he failed that test from day one when it came to dealing with a young LeBron James. He got pushed around and he's a pushover. He can't take control of his players. Granted, I know it's even harder to do in today's NBA, but still, you got to be able to command the respect of your players. And I've never felt that Mike Brown is good at that. That just once his players feel that they can control him, they just run over him. And that's been evident throughout his career. And I think that could also hurt him with the current Knicks team. They're so used to having to deal with like a hard ass and Tibbs that once they see how soft Mike Brown is, it could cause chemistry to spiral out of control in the sense that these guys probably feel like they won't be held accountable for their mistakes like they did with Tibbs, and they'll feel a little bit too comfortable. I feel if they're a little bit too comfortable, it can put them into a sense of complacency. So that's a big thing to worry about with him being the coach. He's not good at adjustments. That was very evident when he was coaching the Cavs the first time. I remember there were quite a few series where I felt that once a team made adjustments, he couldn't counter. I think one of the most embarrassing series when he was coaching the Cavs was that 2009 series, Magic versus the Cavs. Cavs had home court advantage. They had won, I believe, 66 games, and they should have been that Magic team. Granted, the Magic team was very good, but Mike Brown failed to make the adjustments to win that series, and he got clowned in that series, so he was a miserable failure. And after Cleveland, the first stint, he never really had that great success again, which is evident that he rode LeBron James' coattails, like I was saying. But then you go to his time with the Lakers, He had a great first year, which he tends to have with a lot of these teams. You'll notice a great first year with the Lakers, but that team was inherited. They had just come off from being former champions, and Mike Brown was able to get the core of that team, which is Pau Gasol, Kobe Bryant, and Andrew Bynum. I think the Lakers had traded Lamar Odom that year, if I'm not mistaken. I think they sent him to Orlando, but they had like the core of the championship team they had won for the past few years prior to being dethroned in 2011. So he inherited a really good team, a team that had just been a championship team a year earlier, and they were able to get to the second round that year, and they just got clowned by the Thunder. But I don't think Mike Brown had anything to do with any reasonable success they had that year. They were just already an elite team. There wasn't really much for him to do, but year two with the Lakers, he lost that team in the first 5 games of the regular season. I felt they had quit on him, and that ended up with him getting fired. I think also that season he tried to make new adjustments, design a new offense, and it didn't work the first 5 games. The Lakers canned him, but he never had control of that team. And Grant, you could say that when you coach a guy like Kobe Bryant, you're also in a bad situation because the very few guys could stand up to Kobe, and Mike Brown didn't have him to stand up to him. And I think the players saw that, and eventually, year two, it fell apart with him being their coach. Granted, they had an aging roster. Then he comes back to Cleveland. And in Cleveland, he has a crappy second stint, which he gets fired after year one. There was the issues in the locker room between Dion Waiters and Kyrie Irving. He had no control of that situation, spiraled out of control. Granted, they were not expected to do much that season anyways, but he lost the team. By the end of that season, he got fired. And you can say Sacramento, he had great success the first 2 years. Year one, he wins 48 games. They get to the playoffs for the first time in, I think, 15, 16 years. And he wins Coach of the Year, but they ended up losing that series to the Warriors in humiliating fashion. They had home court. They got blown out by Game 7 on their home court, which I blame him on that one. Yes, the Warriors are defending champs, but you have home court. If you're going to lose, you should never get blown out on your home court. That's embarrassing in a Game 7 to get blown out on your home court. I hold Mike Brown accountable. He didn't prepare his team right, and they got their ass handed to them. He choked away that series. And then the next 2 years, they would miss the playoffs, and his team rebelled against him. But I think really when he lost his team was in that series against the Warriors. They never believed in him again, and they quit on him ultimately. He had that feud with De'Aaron Fox. It didn't work out. I'm just bringing up all these examples to show you why I think ultimately Mike Brown will fail with the Knicks, that he'll eventually lose his team. And once they see that he's a phony and they don't want to take him seriously, they'll tune him out and they'll do whatever they want to do, which won't be good, obviously. But Mike Brown is just not qualified to be a championship coach. And I know the Knicks have championship ambitions. That's why I'm bringing it up. Players can sense when they can run over you, and they're going to sense from day one that Mike Brown is a guy that they can run over and not take seriously. So I think this is a very, very bad hiring for the Knicks. Hiring they'll regret. Now, the Knicks coming into this season, this upcoming season, I think they can win anywhere between 50 to 60 games, but it's not going to be because of Mike Brown. It's because they have a great roster, a returning core from a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So they had that experience, and I think that's going to propel them to have a good season. But you're going to see the effect Mike Brown has on this team during the playoffs and how prepared they are in these series in the East, because he's not good at adjusting to when a team has a counter. He's not good at making in-game adjustments in the situation once he's figured out. And also when adversity strikes his teams, they tend to quit. They tend to give up. You can say whatever you want about Tibbs, but the Knicks had a attitude with him last year where they just never gave up. They had a never gave up attitude where they would fight you until the death. That's one thing he instilled in them. I don't think Mike Brown can instill that into the Knicks. I don't see it working out that way. So I think it's going to be a failure, and failure in the sense that he's not going to get them a championship. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they can get out of the East. In my eyes, they're the favorites of the roster they have. So if they fail to get out of the East, Mike Brown will take sole blame for it. Granted, this in the situation where there's no injuries, it will be because Mike Brown wasn't competent. That's the way I look at it. So this is a horrible, horrible signing by the Knicks. It shows it shows that Dolan is still a clown. He's still dumb, and I'm just at a loss. Like, I'm just kind of surprised they're that stupid great. I shouldn't be because they're the Knicks, but for the last few years they had us that their rep had changed as a basketball organization. I don't have anything else to say about that. That's it.